And allow yourself to get a glimpse of that glorious absence. Because the absence takes away fear and concern. Because it's simply not there in the absence. It's like a vacation from yourself. A vacation from consciousness and its shenanigans. Its experiences. It's beautiful shenanigans. It's purposeful shenanigans. Nevertheless, beautiful shenanigans. It's a vacation from yourself. It's a time out, literally. No time. So it can feel like home. It can feel like, it can be interpreted in consciousness as experience. At that threshold of consciousness, it can be felt as peace, as total peace. Because nothing applies. And when nothing applies, there's total peace. That's all that remains. Absence is peace. Absence or nothingness is infinite, ironically. And if you allow yourself to keep with your consciousness, keep in, not in mind, but keep in consciousness. When you're in the mind, keep consciousness in mind. When you're in consciousness, keep source of consciousness in consciousness. Meaning, you just, during your everyday experiences, you just occasionally reflect back. You remember. You go to that home place. That absoluteness, that absolute empty, infinite beyondness. Where you're not even bothered by the sense of a presence. You're beyond even presence. You're so devoid of presence in that moment, in that particular non-focus, that you experience yourself as beyond presence. And I liken this to plugging my iPhone in. It needs to recharge sometimes. It needs to stand on idle sometimes. And so when consciousness gets a little bit overactive in some form, way, shape, and you just feel tired of experiences, tired of the flow of experiences and trying to figure things out and trying to get enlightenment and all that kind of nonsense, you simply plug yourself in by remembering that on the most ultimate absolute level of yourself, which is the one source of all beings and all that is and all possible realities, on that level, that's you too. That's you too. And on that level, nothing ever happened. And it's you too. So nothing ever happened to you in that experience, in that moment. So you can recharge. Now you're not focused on recharging, it just happens. In a sense, you're running out of fuel sometimes if experiences take their toll on you, in a sense. Which will get less and less and less once you master day 3 kind of stuff. But nevertheless, when you feel like you're exhausted, when you feel like you're seeking again and you're like trying and just go back to this most absolute profound oneness, beyondness level. And you'll find that naturally at your own timing, the emphasis on that will just sort of drop away again a little bit because you are refueled. You are refueled, and so the car has gas. Consciousness has inspiration again. It has been rejuvenated in a sense to continue to ask questions and to explore and to expand its understanding of reality and its reflection and celebration of the One. So the One will always stay with you, but it will be more like a plug-in and plug-out kind of thing. After which eventually it will be sort of a simultaneously accessible thing where I can have a complete dialogue with you and I can feel into experiences and explore what beliefs I may have or what's going on for me. And at the same time, I may feel and know it does not apply to me. There may be this vastness underlying or being beyond all of it, and a sense of vivid presence, and a sense of exploration and evolution and expansion. Now, this may sound very complicated to a mind that's used to focus in one place, and this happens first, and then this happens, and then that happens, and then this happens. But regardless of what you're used to, what kind of focuses you're used to, what kind of limitation we're used to, this, what I'm speaking of, is all already simultaneously occurring, and so much more that you're not aware of. At the same time, already, your being is already infinitely capable. So from that relaxed place where you're sinking into, touching into those more vast spaces of your consciousness, of your being, of your existence, it all becomes much more natural and effortless. You'll just spontaneously have simultaneous awareness of things, more and more. It's kind of like a multitasking on different levels. And sometimes you focus in a little bit more on one and sometimes more on the other, depending on just, you're starting to listen to yourself. And depending on what you need and you feel is relevant and beneficial in that moment, you sort of go to that space, you go to that state. Experiment, explore, have fun. Don't see this as the death of everything, because it is what gives life to everything. It gives life to even life. So it is ultimately very liberating, and it is the source of all that is. But going back there from a focused point of view feels a little bit like a falling asleep in a sense. You're falling asleep to experiences. But it's really just ultimate rest. You are infinite, unaffected infinity. You are the one. You are the one. The one is you. One is all and all is one. One for all and all for one. So when you get a glimpse of infinity, you can also realize at that point that, wait a second, that infinity, whatever that is, that indescribable, vast sort of falling back into nothingness, is not just something that's there and I'm over here, but that too, or especially, is actually me. So all the non-quality qualities of that infinity are actually my non-quality qualities, such as never happened anything to me, nothing ever occurred, nothing ever applied to me. There is no time. There's not even the creation of time. There's not even the creation of space. There's just peace, in a sense we can say peace. It's rather absence, but absence is peaceful. All these qualities, or these non-quality qualities, are therefore actually the immediate qualities of your infinity, of you. When you realize that it's you, it's very liberating, because that shifts the position of where you're at, where you feel, what you feel is the extent of you. Just opens it all up. Opens it all up, blows it wide open. Again, the bubble of consciousness. And then you ask yourself, within that bubble, you ask yourself, what's beyond the bubble? What's beyond the experiential realm? And the bubble goes poof. And suddenly infinity pervades the experiences, and now consciousness no longer has a bottom, has no longer defined like, oh, this presence or this being. I am this beingness. Even that is a contraction. Even that is a limitation. It's just free fall. It's just open. Infinite. And then you can start to reappreciate. You can start to reevaluate. You can start to review, have a different view, gain a wildly different view of creation and the purpose of creation. Once you get out of the stage where it's sort of, for some, not everybody goes even there, but some that are intense with this, they may go into a temporary period of not wanting to focus on experiences anymore, not wanting to go back. It's like when your phone is plugged in, but it's only 30% charged. It doesn't want to leave yet. Which is good. It's natural. It's natural. We all want to sleep. We all want peace. We all want absence to a certain extent. We want to connect to that part of ourselves too. And so once you pass sort of the stage where you feel you need it, where you feel that that's the absolute truth, which in a sense you could say it is, but that would just be another perspective within consciousness. You start to reappreciate existence. You start to, in a sense, view the purpose of creation through the eyes of the one that created creation for a particular desire or purpose, for lack of a better word. So that reappreciation of existence is the reintegration of all three levels combining into one, no longer needing to define themselves as levels. Infinity being present and exploring expansion of its presence. This looks like your life, in other words. Your life is the extension of the one. It is how the one gets to know itself. You are literally, you as at this end of the spectrum, talking about the physical human being experience, the mind experience, is the very, very edge of the universe. The universe is always expanding in a sense. It's expanding not in its possibilities, because infinite possibilities are infinite possibilities. You can't go beyond infinite possibilities. And since all is now and timeless, all possibilities exist now, even though we experience it one reality at a time, one frame at a time. It all exists simultaneously. Going from one frame to that frame to that frame to that frame creates our particular individual timeline of continuity, but that's an illusion. They're all laid out already, all experiences, all possible realities. But consciousness chooses, based on its relevance, based on what kind of theme it wants to explore, in what particular way it wants to experience, celebrate, and reflect back to the one, its infinity. That's why there's so many infinite ones of us, because it wants to know itself through infinite ways, because it is infinite. So it has to express and celebrate and get to know itself in infinite ways to be somewhat of a representation of true infinity. So what's available, the possibilities are not expanding. What's expanding is consciousness's relationship. What's developing and evolving is its relationship to itself through means of shifting again and again and again, through different ways, with different forms, emerging, etc. That's how the one that laid out all possibilities is now exploring its relationship and its celebration of itself through endless, infinite explorations. And you, as at that end of your spectrum, at this end of the spectrum of who you are, of the totality of existence, at the very sort of edge, if you would draw like a physical body inside that circle, that would represent your physical, mind-based, conscious-based being, what we call conscious, being conscious, seeing the microphone, da-da-da. It is literally the hand of God. It's the fingertip. So it's exploring through you every experience you're having, and every time you're conscious, or even if you're not conscious, it's still expanding, just less rapidly in a sense. But when you're conscious of how you're relating to experiences, in other words, every single one of your experiences, some of them conscious, some of them unconscious, are the edge of the universe's relationship to itself. So the